gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the Wednesday week, the Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm Lord Hillsman, and with me on the line today, first of all, we have Mr. Fudge. Hello there, Fudge, old boy.
How's it going, Lord H? You all right? What I've been up to this week is frustrating Dave Jones. Apparently, that's the word for the week. That's what I've been doing. I don't know what that entails, but it was just a line that I thought of.
It was a very good line as well.
Thanks.
And also, we have Eddie. Hello there, the old boy.
Oh, your lordliness, how you doing, sir? You know, I honestly thought Frustrating Dave Jones was his actual nickname these days.
Seems to be a lot of frustrating Dave Jones going on all around. So, chaps, another interesting week for the Owls. I suppose we really must talk about it first and foremost. Is our exit out of the Cup. A rather poor showing, boys.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Hang on, wait a minute. Why am I talking first? Where's Beastie?
Oh, that's it. We were seeing how long it would take anybody's notice. Beastie is actually...
Why am I talking? I just got that. That was a slow uptake, that donkey.
Well, you know, he's a media whore. He always likes to get his argument in first before I demolish it.
I do believe Beastie's actually on a catwalk somewhere today, strutting his funky stuff, as we heard this clip from him last week.
I've got to tell you, I am glistening like a Greek god at the moment. I've got covered in half a litre of oil.
Yes, there he is, bronzed god, I believe the phrase was. So, yes, he's off doing Beastie type things. So, good luck, Beastie, old boy, wherever you may be. I'm sure we'll be back to this. I think it's actually the first ever podcast Beastie's missed in the whole history of podcasting.
I can't wait. We'll probably win an award now, won't we?
Bloody well should do. So, Eddie, away you go. Let's destroy our cup efforts.
Yeah, you know, a bit disappointing. I know a lot of the fans that went down there, I think, because they were very much the hardcore, you know, they were the ones who, it wasn't just the normal away lot that go to every league away match. You know, this was an extra level of commitment, wasn't it? Because going to an away game in the arse end of January at Stadium MK, where, let's be honest, we were there this time last year, weren't we? And it was the coldest night ever. It took me about 3 weeks to get over it. It was horrible. We had half the stadium because they'd only brought their home crowd was only about 3,000. So we brought as many as we possibly could. But it was so cold. I think we managed to fit 2 people per seat, where everyone was snuggling together for warmth. I mean, to be honest, I got touched a few times. It was quite nice. So I digress. This game, as much as it was, for the very committed to go there and cheer the lads on, I think they're right to come away disappointed with not only the team that we put out, but also the performance that team put in. Dave Jones has got it absolutely spot on where, okay, he's responding to criticism of his team selection, but we should have enough in that team that we put out to beat MK Dons, because just looking at the team that was out, it was a better team than went to MK Dons in the league last year. So I don't think he's far off the mark there. However, we had a chance.
I'm sure three of the players that played for MK Dons were in our team last year.
Exactly. It can only be a positive for us,
Carl
can't
Robinson. If you're listening, Carl Robinson, I've got an old pair of shoes and an old girlfriend you probably might want as well. If that's what you're after.
It was a disappointing exit, because there was the prospect of a decent run again. You know, we didn't have a bad draw in the next round. It would have been winnable. So it's annoying that it's happened like that. But, you know, let's be honest. How many decent cup runs have we put together in the last 10 years? Well, the answer is not very many. So
exactly.
It doesn't bother me unduly, because certainly, you know, coming out of that match, we are still in a relegation fight in the league. And as much as a cup run can give you a bounce, or it can give you extra games to get through that then impact on your league, I would sooner us have one focus for the rest of this season. So, yeah, I'm upset that we've lost. I'm upset that we went out with a whimper, but life goes on. The FA Cup isn't all it's cracked up to be these days. And it pains me to say that, because I absolutely loved it as a kid, but I'm not overbothered.
I think for me what it was, a team selection like this, obviously going on recent games, is that this isn't Dave Jones's first choice. A lot of these players like Bywater, Mattock, Lee, Corrie, even Goal Machine, and the god awful Peckers. So
Picnic.
Picnic. So he I thought a few of these players might turn up. I thought a few of them might stand up and be counted. Do you know what I mean? There's a handful of players there that are chomping at the bit for their goal, for their turn, for their time in the sun, and they didn't take it with both hands. And that's the frustrating bit about it. But to be fair, I'm right behind Eddie in what he says. The last thing we need is a cup run. We've got to get out of where we are before we start looking at winning silverware. We need to keep focused on what we're doing.
How optimistic are you? Yeah, we just need to get away from the bottom three in the championship before we start thinking seriously about silverware.
Yeah, that's right. We're all right where we are, lads. Let's just keep it like that. I'm all right here.
I mean, it was a disappointing game. It is disappointing to be out of the cup, but and I know this makes me sound like a fan that has been kicked out of the FA Cup. But lads, are we too fussed?
No, not really.
No, not over.
Fair enough. Right. So that's that puts bed for another year, and it saves any more cold jaunts down south. So on we pop, chaps, to the meat and taters, shall we say, and Wolves, and again extraordinarily cold game altogether, really. In terms of results as well. I mean, Fudgy, what do you think, old boy?
Well, I watched this game. I watched it online, and I'm glad I did. If I'm honest, I'm glad I didn't sit in the cold. It reminds me, I think it was a Boxing Day fixture against Arsenal in the 90s, and it just reminded me of that. Those god awful freezing dour moments that you get to, and you think, nah, I don't even know why I'm here.
In the 90s, did you not have lots and lots of hair to keep you all nice and warm, Fudgy?
Well, my centre parting was quite the treat, don't get me wrong. But it was the 90s, so it was kind of like a mohawk centre parted. It was called the undercut. So when the wind blew, it separated. You had a skinhead, essentially. It did not look good.
Days.
It was kind of the equivalent, the hair equivalent of the cop roof. I.e., it looked like a really good idea, but it actually turned out that it wasn't fit for purpose.
Sorry for your bad, I stumped your flow then on your crackle, boy.
So Wolves, Wolves, as Beastie Cutes kept pointing out, and I'm sure you did, Eddie, as well last week, that that they weren't a good team. They're not a good team. They're not the team they used to be. But there's always that potential that they could turn up and they could cause. Well, let's not say an upset, but it could cause us some problems. They've got a strike force that's worth a few million quid, as the Sheffield Star decided to rely their entire journalistic integrity on about how much their strike force cost. But they're right. I mean, there's a few million running around at the front of there, and their strike force was worth more than our team. So there is something positive to take from it, and the goals aren't going in. Again, last week we touched on the fact that Lair and Gardner have all of a sudden managed to sort their stuff out. Do you know what I mean? They've managed to get it together, and Gardner's been recognised with that, which is fantastic in terms of getting the player of the month, the team of the week. Sorry. So there was something to take out of it. I must admit, I'm quite enjoying this Antonio and Jermaine strike partnership kind of formation that we've got going on. Is that a fair way of putting it, or are we doing a three-pronged attack with Halan? I can't work it out.
Basically, I think what's happening at the moment is Dave Jones expecting teams to come at us, the defence hold them off, and us just literally just leg it to the other side of the pitch and score.
Well, I think that's it. I think that's why we've, for example, we'll touch on this later on, why we've got rid of a player like Chris Lyons, who gets his foot on the ball and passes it around. It's kind of like Wimbledon of the 90s, and it's lump it up to the quick lads up front, essentially.
Yeah, it's it was a 0-0 is never what you want to see. It was even more frustrating because, like I said in the podcast last week, I was expecting Wolves to be one of the toughest games that we had at Hillsborough this season. Now, as it's turned out, this Wolves team are an absolute joke. And as much as I thought they were a joke last week when we were talking on the podcast, they're even more of a joke now because they've turned up and have parked the bus. They have come with no ambition whatsoever. There was no attempt to really put us under pressure, to get behind us, to score a goal. There was, all these teams that have come to Hillsborough this season and have spotted the one glaring problem that we have is that our two centre-backs have got the turning circle of the Titanic and don't have any pace whatsoever. They didn't exploit any of that at all. Ebanks, Blake and Doyle looked like, Darren Potter and John Oxenbourne. Wolves offered nothing. They were such a disappointing team come to Hillsborough. And to be honest, the travesty really is that we didn't quite have enough to not unlock them, because we got behind them enough and we got plenty of chances. I think it was something like 17 chances Dave Jones was on about. We didn't have that nous in front of goal, that cutting edge and that finish. And that, to me, is the problem. In terms of what I said last week was, I would expect to see Dave Jones slightly tweak the formation from that victory at Hull, because you'd expect at home that we are going to get more chances, and you need a proven finisher in there to actually get on the end of those and finish them off. We went with effectively exactly the same system, if not exactly the same team, and so we missed that opportunity, because there were an awful lot of times that of those 17 chances, players were getting in the box, getting in good positions, but that very final ball, as good as the final ball was, the actual finish wasn't there. You know, Reader Johnson had a great effort that went wide. Antonio and Jermaine Johnson both had really good chances that never came off. So it was almost a case of too many Indians and not enough Chiefs to completely mangle a phrase, because you had Elan going forward, doing great things with the ball, and then trying to deliver that final ball. There was no one on the end of it. You had Prutton doing the same. You had Antonio and Johnson rampaging forward, and of course you always had the attacking threat of both Gardner and Lehrer. Of Raider Johnson and Lehrer. The attacking threat of Gardner. What am I talking about? The attacking threat of Reader Johnson.
Aerodynamic haircut.
So in the end, we probably had, 7 or 8 of our team were really, really good setup men, but there was nobody on the end of it. And that was the only reason we didn't beat Wolves, because they were there for the taking. And so it's actually a disappointing point. Not because the game wasn't entertaining, because it wasn't bad for a 0-0 draw, even if it was in a bloody freezing cold. But it's upsetting that we will not get a better chance to beat a team at Hillsborough this season, because that Wolves team are in trouble. If they don't book up their ideas, then we're going to be overtaking them at a canter, and they'll be duking it out with the likes of Bristol and Barnsley for that bottom 3.
Well, that's if Peterborough can drop some bloody points to do him heading. I wish he'd just bugger off.
I've had enough of them. Okay, we all get the joke. It's brilliant. Funny Peterborough getting points in the Championship. But, it's time now, isn't it? It's the other side of Christmas. No one's laughing anymore.
We're all just trying to get his head down and work now. It's that time of year.
What was it? Blue Monday, wasn't it, this week? Yes, was it yesterday, day before?
Monday again.
Is it the most depressing day of the year? Well, I'm not being funny. Every time Peterborough pick up points in this division, that's the most depressing day of the year for me. Rubbish.
Go ahead, don't put your back.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, we've got this quick new attacking formation that we go for, and Jones is forever talking about how he's frustrated in the transfer market because he can't get a striker. What good's a striker if we're not going to get the ball up there? If we've just got 3 midfielders, they're just going to stand there and bang in the tackles and lump it forward.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, again, obviously the tactics worked against Hull for the simple fact is that, and I think we were expecting this from the podcast as well, that they were going to come at us, as simple as that, and as defence held them off, and a lot of those goals came from the break. As Eddie expertly pointed out just a moment ago, there wasn't anything to break to when we were playing Wolves. They were just sat, and if at any point we need a great big lump up there to get on the end of that, such as much as it pains me to say it is a Sidibe, just to sort of bowl through players, then again, to me, maybe a little bit of an upset by Mr. Jones here. I think he got this one a little bit wrong.
Yeah, I mean, we looked like a more potent attacking force, certainly in and around the 18-yard box once Gary Medine came on. Gary Medine is not in any kind of form whatsoever. He's in fact, probably, I would suggest this is probably the worst form of his life, of his career. So for him to come on and immediately look like a game changer, but only having had 7, 8, 9 minutes or whatever it was in the end, it certainly brings into question the logic behind that. I can only assume that Dave Jones was thinking that Wolves were going to be set up to be a little bit more open and a little bit more attacking than they were, because they really, I can't stress it enough, they offered nothing. So it was down to us to break them down. And unfortunately,
looking at the stats, I did notice though when I was watching it that they tend to have more of the ball.
They did, but they were sat literally passing it across their back four for 3 or 4 minutes at a time. It was like you remember Charlton came last year? And they mugged us for that goal, and then basically spent 50, 60 minutes time wasting. Well, it was like that, on a smaller scale. They never once played a killer ball that really tested us. I mean, Chris Kirkland, I think, had one save to make, but it was about as routine as it could possibly get. So, no, there really was no danger from Wolves. And if I've got a criticism of Dave Jones, and I don't like to do this because this is a man who's paid to manage a football club as opposed to me, who is not getting paid to talk crap on a podcast.
Are we not getting paid?
I don't think he. If he did set up wrong, and I think fair enough, he didn't know exactly what Wolves were going to do. But once it became evident, certainly after the first half, that Wolves were there to get a point, and Dean Saunders was there to try and build from the back and actually get his house in order first before even trying to win a game, then he should have changed the game and made us a much more aggressive attacking force.
Absolutely. A couple of more points. I mean, there were some good chances for us. Again, obviously Antonio playing up front. He had a couple of good chances. There was one again that came in from a nice ball came in from Monsieur Heren, and again Antonio's first touch may have let him down ever so slightly. It's the second time we've seen that in 2 weeks, chaps. It's a little bit worrying, that one, actually. But if you'd have told me this time last year that our central midfield stock would have consisted of Mr. Prutton and Mr. Coke, I would have spat in your eye and called you a liar. I cannot believe. But don't get me wrong, I'm actually quite fans of both of them now, but this time last season, with Prutton being out on loan and obviously Coke being fighting with his lone team, I can't believe it, chaps. I mean, is this what we're looking at now? Is this the way forward?
Well, I think the way forward is obviously players like Corrie and McCabe, but they're in good form at the minute. They're getting the tackles in. They're spreading the ball around like a centre midfielder's meant to do. If they're in good form, get them in. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, we're in a relegation fight. Let's not put too fine a point on it. What we need are cool, collected, experienced heads, and David Prutton absolutely ticks those boxes. I think that when he was signed, certainly in League One, he had the intention of being a kind of a Steven Gerrard style, leader of the team, grab the game by the scruff of the neck, make things happen just from his quality. He's a player that's played at the very highest level. So I think he's had to kind of modify his role and his view of what he could achieve in this team, but I don't see a problem with David Prutton sitting in that midfield. I think he does the job, he gets on with it, and does it quietly. And certainly, do you think that we'd have been sat here and talking about David Prutton and not been talking about any kind of disciplinary measures whatsoever? This is a player who has committed some of the worst tackles ever seen in the history of this beautiful game, and yet, he's a model professional, and he's a leader out there, and that's exactly what we need now. So
I think also what you say as well, though, about him being a professional, even when he was out of the side, and he was out of the side for a long time, he kept his mouth shut. I didn't expect that of him. I expected a few articles saying, "Oh, it's frustrating not being called up, and he demands this and demands," but
especially
he took it on the chin.
Losing his spot to effectively untested kids. You'd expect him to get the hump, but it's the measure of the man, and also the measure of the respect that I think the players in the squad have for each other, and that it can only bode well. But no,
so what have we decided that David Prutton's grown up now? It's took him till he's 32, 33, and all of a sudden he's a grown up.
He's finally got a sensible haircut as well.
Well, that was the thing, you see. He was flying for these tackles and he can't see what was going off round him because his hair was in his face.
But now, short back and sides, fantastic. He can do his national service as well.
Spit and polish, your boy, spit and polish. So one final, maybe ever so slight little criticism regarding the Wolves game as well, chaps, is that short sleeves and gloves, not a fan. I'm sorry, if you're going to wear gloves, wear long sleeves. They just make you look ridiculous.
Week of fashion podcast.
My word, some people, good lord. Antonio,
my favourite is when they wear the gloves from obviously we've got sponsorships and stuff like that, so they've made them wear gloves from the club shop. I think Joe Hall was one of the best ones for it. He used to wear those god-awful blue ones with it stitched in the back that I'm sure I used to have when I was a kid. You know what I mean? And they don't seem to have got any better. They still look bloody awful. But them with a pair with short sleeves on, it's just hilarious. It's just what happened to just good old-fashioned.
At least they're not turning out with an official club shop onesie on, because that would really be beyond the pale.
Just what happened to good old-fashioned just sticking it down the front of your crotch? Do you know what I mean? That's how you kept your hands warm back in my day.
No, don't tell Beastie that. Don't get him started. You'll have him on all the next podcast. If you do hang about the players' entrance, I'm sure you'll see them all walking out in their Sheffield Wednesday patented wellies as well in this weather. So, on we crack then, chaps. And a little bit of news coming out regarding transfers. What do you think about this one, Eddie? To start off with, Mr. Lyons off to Stadium MK.
Well, of course, Stadium MK. And I know they're a new club, and they haven't quite yet found their identity, but perhaps Sheffield Wednesday Old Boys might be the best name for them going forward, because they can now field effectively half a team of exiles. So, you know what, Linesy, and we've been desperate for him to come back because he was such a key part of last season's team, and he's a lovely, lovely man. He literally is one of the nicest guys in football. He's brilliant on Twitter. If you're into technology and general progress in society, then you're on Twitter.
Unlike if you're in charge of any record shops with pink fonts and black signage. You know what I mean? In case, because they're obviously not into technology and keeping up with the times and whatnot.
He's basically he's managed to move with the times, hasn't he? Because he could, as a young lad growing up in the West Country, he could quite easily be married to a cow now. But instead, he's come to the big city. He's started wearing clothes. He's made a success of his life. So no. In all seriousness, Chris Lyons is everything that you want from a footballer. He's a professional. He's a classy player. I'm hoping that this isn't the end for Chris Lyons. I know he hasn't really proved that he can step up to this level yet, but the fact that Giles Coke is now in the team, the fact that David Prutton is now in the team, that shows that Dave Jones has a real open door policy here. And let's hope that Chris Lyons can go off to MK Dons, hook up with half of his old teammates, get a little bit of that fitness back, that match fitness, that sharpness, that class back, and then when that loan deal's over, he can come back in and be a part of what's happening at Sheffield Wednesday. I know he's really fond of the club. I know he's really fond of being up in Sheffield, and he's going to miss us in his short break. But I don't think this is the end for Chris Lyons. I think this is probably the smartest way for Chris Lyons to have a chance of being a part of Sheffield Wednesday going forward.
Well, as daft as it sounds, MK Dons is full of some people he's played football with before. And if that gets his confidence up and that gets his touch back, then I'm all for it. Like you say, I don't think it's the end of him. I think it's going to be a way forward. And like you say, if Coke and Prutton can get back in that side, I'm 100% confident that Chris Lyons could do it as well.
Absolutely. So, from as one of the Wednesday Week podcasts with Mr. Lyons, all the best, and I'm sure we shall see him again.
Actually, Lord H, speaking of Bristol-based nonsense, I need to mention this. I feel like we've spawned something. We've started something. I've referenced before that one of my good friends is a Bristol City fan, and I told him about this show, and he now has started his own Bristol City podcast.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah. So there's three of them, like us, never met. And no, we all live in the same house, listeners. We all live in the same
basically, if you think of the Wednesday Week as effectively like the 21st century monkeys, we go surfing together, don't we? We get into all kinds of scrapes, and basically, I'm the ugly drummer.
So they've now started up their own Bristol City podcast, and it's got a bit of a following. So I just want to say good luck, but good luck staying in the league and all. What about that?
Podcast Wars.
So like I say, all the best to Mr. Lyons over there, and I'm sure he'll listen to the Bristol City podcast. And what you really must find out the details of that podcast so we can taunt them. I
am volunteering my services. I did suggest it. They didn't have theirs up and running for when Wednesday played Bristol City, but I think if the running for the league gets a bit fruitier, I think I'll volunteer my services to come on and do it from another side of perspective. And if they turn it down, I'll offer Beastie up because that'd just be hilarious.
Can't even imagine. So all the best to Mr. Lyons there. And there's been another exit as well. Mr. Daniel Jones, our interesting defender, left on mutual consent, apparently. Chaps, he doesn't seem to have gone anywhere, I'm not sure. I don't know if you boys know anything else about this.
Well, what it's done, it's killed my banter with Beastie when he tells us he always defends the players and he always looks after the players. In fact, actually, what's that? Oh, look who's here. Well, I'm really glad he's gone. I'm right happy that he's right gone. I never liked him anymore. Well, thanks very much, Beastie. That's a great opinion. Thanks very much. Sound bites.
That'd be perfect, but you've actually forgotten that Beast never actually has his own opinion. It's actually just his daughter's opinion that he's relaying to us.
Sorry, Beastie, I'll come back here. Yeah, it was our younger what said it to start with, and I just agreed with it. Oh, thanks very much, Beastie. Come again.
So I'm sure you'll agree, chaps. I mean, obviously, no ill will against the chap, except for the awful mistakes that he's made.
We'll talk about Beastie still.
Absolutely.
There were some awful mistakes he has made, actually.
But no, I mean, we've seen Mr. Jones fluff his lines, shall we say. That's been kind to the chap, and I don't think we shall miss him too much, shall we, boys?
No, decent player. Decent guy. Can't criticise him. He wasn't the right player in League One. He certainly isn't the right player in the Championship. But you know what? A decent footballer. He's got a good foot on him from a set piece as well. So live long and prosper. If he finds a good club, he's going to get a run in the team. I think that certainly League One, League Two level, he can earn a living. He can do a decent job for it, and good luck to him. And thank you for his service. Wish him all the best.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've got to have questions. We've had 3 managers, maybe 4, that's managed Danny Jones in our football club, and nobody seems to have raised a point. Nobody seems to have gone, well, hang on, this lad is playing second fiddle to a 40-year-old Michael Gray. This lad's the Michael Gray reserve. And he was just a million years old when he played for us. And nobody's come into the club. The other 3 managers since then haven't come in and gone, well, actually, he's not very good.
I can only assume everyone's been blinded by his boy band good looks and beautiful lustrous hair.
Always poked him in the eye with his big ridiculous chin. Either or, I can see it being a problem.
Oh, trying to whatever the hell it is he's got on his arms tattooed there as well. Interesting. Again, he does leave the club saying that Wednesday is a massive club. The massive in every interview, of course. And he does hope the lads can turn it around this season and climb the table. So again, we echo the sentiments of Mr. Edward just a minute ago. And all the best, Danny. Enjoy a good job, also. Enjoy a good job. Right, so chaps, we've had some correspondence, gentlemen. Some very interesting correspondence from a chap I'm sure you both know. Mr. Neil Hargreaves has been in touch, and he's a creative sort, shall we say? And
is he the guy that created Mr. Men?
that was his son, Roger.
Oh, Roger Hargreaves.
Some say he might look like a Mr. Man. But, of course, I'm sure all the folks out there know him from Owl's Talk. Of course, he's the gaffer over there, and he's very active on Facebook. And he does actually do the fan cam for the Wednesdays as well. I'm sure you've seen that. I'm sure you've seen both Eddie and Beastie on the fan cam as well. I see he's sent us a pull down your chance, chaps. He's been awfully nice and done a jolly good job too. So we shall play it, and then I'm sure we shall have our opinions.
Dave Jones, we love you. We'll never let you go. You got a lot of stick, so we thought we'd let you know. Dave Jones, we love you more than anything, like a chicken multi-pie. And if you ever got the sack, then we could surely die.
So, boys, there you go. Short and sweet, but a jolly good job, I think.
Short and sweet. I've never heard a man sing like that. He sings like an angel, and he's got a voice like a docker. So I don't understand. I've got a bit of an ear for music, and I detect a touch of the Chris Brown of the auto-tune music maestro in there. So
slander.
I don't know whether that's his natural voice. It may well make the front page of the papers now if I'm going to say no, it's a no from me. But creativity though, 10 out of 10. What a beautiful song, a beautiful sentiment. And from one of the leading lights of the Wednesday fans community as well. It really does fill your heart with joy, because if he can make that heart of stone sing with the voice of a nightingale, then there's hope for us all. So well done. It's a triumph for the human spirit.
Well, I thought it was also, all right. I think there was just one thing missing, and it was a Little John. Yeah. Halfway through. I thought that might have gone down well. But I agree with Eddie. I think he just missed a wife-beating maestro Chris Brown auto-tune. I think I just heard it sneaking in there. I mean, you've got to give it to Chris Brown. He's the only man who can hit a woman so hard she can forget that he's hit her and start recording music with her. It's mental. Tell you what, he knows what he's doing, that lad.
Beat them until they get amnesia.
That's it. That's his philosophy on life. But apart from that, back to the point. It was all right, that Neil. Yeah, Rog, Neil. I forgot.
Well, while we're on the subject of domestic violence, as we were, did anyone hear TalkSport this week with Stan Collymore? He had a caller on.
Good segue, Eddie. That was
he had a caller on, and it was a member of the public, a ham and egger, the sort of people that are listening to podcasts instead of creating them, celebrities like ourselves. And he was talking about Chelsea's chances and whether they could challenge for the championship and blah 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 blah. And this punter he summed up by saying, "Oh, Frank Lampard though, did you see that penalty? He must have hit that harder than you hit Ulrika."
Oh,
you know what? Radio silence is a crime, but I'm going to forgive Stan Collymore because he was absolutely speechless for about 20 seconds. So, look that bad boy up on YouTube. Well done, Stan. I'll see you on Cannock Chase sometime. Yeah?
My word! You see, we are actually trying to get Mr. Hargreaves on the show to come and talk to us one day. But if this is the influence that just one short little sweet song has, then sounds change his mind. So I mean, obviously we've got the tune there, chaps, and the sentiment. Obviously, backing Dave Jones to the hilt, more than a chicken balti pie. Are we all behind him, boys? Are we behind Dave Jones?
Well, I think the Jones out bandwagon has not halted but slowed down recently. I think the whole game definitely changed a lot of people's minds. People who were sitting on the fence about it, that sort of stuff. But if we don't start driving forward and picking up points and scoring goals, because we've not scored in 2 now, and it's easy to say, "Oh, I can't get a striker. The ones that are scoring the goals are all expensive and whatnot." You're like, well, do you know what I mean?
Good Dave Jones impression.
I do a good Dave Jones. It sounds a lot like my Mickey Mouse and Michael Jackson, but but yeah.
Jamal, I can't send a striker.
I can't get a striker. I can't get Bubbles to sleep. Do you know what I mean? I can't get Plumber off my back. It's the same voice every time. Where was that? But yeah. So yeah, we haven't scored in 2 games. It's not that we've not won, but we've not scored, and that's a worrying statistic. And like I said, it's easy. It's easy for Dave Jones to say, "I can't get a striker; they're all priced out of the market." But is it a striker what we need? Or we're losing the creativity in midfield? I think it's fantastic. I think it's amazing, and I think that Dave Jones has won some fans. The fact that we've stopped the rot in terms of letting the goals in. And I think I had a disagreement with Beastie about it about 3 or 4 weeks ago on the show, saying let's stop them going in before we start working on the other end. We've done that. Let's start working on the other end now.
Yeah, we've fixed that. We've fixed the problems that we had in our defence, and let's be honest here. We look like a proper unit, that back 5 now. I think there's talent running through that group of players, and also there's the right level of confidence, the right level of professionalism, the right level of teamwork. So I'm not even worrying about the defence. Yes, of course, we'll concede more goals between now and the end of the season, but that back 5 should not be tampered with unless it's absolutely necessary. Our problem, and I think we proved it on Saturday, because we created an awful lot, what we needed is someone who can reliably get on the end of it and finish it off. And so that has to be the number 1 priority. And if it means moving players out to get a player in, then fine. I'd personally like to see Helan come back and extend his stay here. Sidibe, you know what? He can cause problems, but I don't think if you're going to look for one striker on the pitch, I don't think it needs to be him. I think it needs to be someone with a bit more nous. So I wouldn't be overbothered if he doesn't come back. But we absolutely need to get goals to get out of this league, and we are get out of this league to get into the safety of mid-table in this league. We're not going to do that unless we have some form of forward line. We cannot go from now until May playing 4 at the back and 6 in midfield and just hoping that that something's going to come off. Because as much as
didn't Spain win a World Cup playing that formation, by the way, just for note.
Not with Sidibe up front, they didn't.
No, fair point.
Yeah. It's a little bit different when you've got that calibre of player. However, with us, we have attacking players, but certainly, Jermaine Johnson is no Xavi. He will get up there and he'll give it a good go. But as we saw on Saturday, 8 out of 10 of those are going to end up higher wide. Probably one of them is going to get saved and one of them is going to go in. And we need more than that. We need a player who can be in and about it, that 6-yard box, and actually feed off the admittedly very positive attacking play that we're putting together. Let's not put too fine a point on it. There is a good understanding and a good attacking understanding down both flanks at the moment. So what we need to do is exploit that. But we had 17 chances on Saturday and we didn't convert a single one of them. Now, that tells you where the problem is.
Absolutely, oh boy. Right, again, just to throw some praise out there. Of course, it's been an interesting week. So again, just to get that praise. Mr. Fudge touched on it earlier. Mr. Gardner in the championship of the week. Very, very well done to squeeze into there, of course, and that's on a 0-0 draw he's got in there. Also, did pick up the Player of the Year award. Player of the Year, Player of the Month award for December for the Owls as well. So credit where it's due. He's had his naysayers. I must admit, I was one of those at the beginning of the season. Fair play to the chap, and I think I'm happy to give him a go. Seems to have settled in quite nicely now, boys. Yeah,
he looks a boss now, doesn't he? I can't fault him. He's imperious. He leads from the back. He shows all of his qualities that he's gleaned from his time at top clubs. So yeah, well done. It's brilliant. That's the player that we thought we'd signed earlier on this season, and I'm sure he will be a real force from now till the end of the season and beyond.
Absolutely. So, chaps, let's look ahead, shall we? And we've got another interesting game coming up, shall we say? Charlton. Of course, it's one of those fixtures that seems to have popped along rather quickly, as we only play them sort of back end of December. And they have put a bit of a run together, to be fair, chaps, since they played us. Again, looking back, beat Blackburn, beat Blackpool as well. Did lose to Huddersfield, but again, of course, they did have that belting game against Watford, the 3-4 against Watford as well. So again, chaps, looking forward. Fudge, what do you think about this one?
I'm actually looking forward to it. I like you say, I remember Beastie last week talking about how he wants to get one over on Chris Powell and how he's not very sporting in defeat and he's not very sporting in winning and stuff like that. And we owe it. We owe them. I mean, we touched on earlier about the free kick and defending for the best part of an hour and stuff like that. I'm not a fan of Charlton. They were boxing well above the weight when Kirbyshew was in charge and they were playing Premiership football. I can't understand how and why that happened and how they were allowed to, because they're a god-awful bloody club, and I want to spank them about 3-0. I mean, all right, I'll say what I think. I'm not going to sit on the fence with this one. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, because I think we've both got that, as two clubs that have just come up, I think we've both got that thing around us that we're inconsistent and we're an unknown quantity as well. So I think... I think we've got a good fighting chance against them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, to be honest, right. Firstly, I share those sentiments about Charlton. You know what? Charlton were very, very big in the 1930s, but so was Oswald Mosley and the British Union of Fascists. So we've been through that. It's a completely different world. They were boxing well above their weight. In the late 90s, in the early part of the last decade. They're not a big club. We should be dominating these boys. However, you know what? They're just as inconsistent as us. This game's an absolute lottery. We could win it easily. We could get absolutely spanked. I have no idea how it's going to end up. So, no, I'm not going to make any prediction whatsoever. I'm just hoping that we can continue our good run defensively, and let's just see what comes.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, looking back at the game, we did give them somewhat of a tonking, let's be fair. It wasn't exactly... I think they'll be worried about us coming, boys. To tell the truth, I mean, of course, as I say, it wasn't too long ago. Mr. Powell's, what's the word I'm looking for? And I think we're really going to have a go at them. And obviously, after the frustration of Wolves, and it's just looking at how Dave Jones is going to set up for this one. Are we going to? Do they know what to expect from the last time we played them? Or?
Well, this is it. I think that's a valid point, because bear in mind as well, this is a completely different team that we're setting out. Do you know what I mean? I think Charlton last time we had O'Grady, Medine, McCabe, bloody Buxton. I think like these.
You can't still be on a roll against Buxton. He's been having a belting season.
Not a fan. And,
hey, look, you know what? Our
season
season tickets have gone on sale this week, and guess who's the face of
Who's
that? Lewis Buxton, baby.
Buxton,
Not you, Fudge. Lewis Buxton. I know it hurts, but get over it.
Nicole, I was by the phone. Yeah, I mean, this is a different setup. This is a different setup from what they know about us. So they could go, oh Christ, well they've got that Medina up front. He flails his elbows about. So let's put our big meathead brick outhouse defender on. Then all of a sudden you've got JJ running past him. Do you know what I mean? I hope that happens. I hope they think, let's set up for what we played last time. I hope that happens, and I hope we turn up with a few surprises and go, well, hang on a minute, we've got our three-pronged attack, two of which look like each other. You've got no chance, sausage.
Oh, Fudge, why aren't you a manager, old boy? It just doesn't make any sense.
You know what I mean? You should see me on Footy Manager.
When you do that press conference bit where you get to type in your own thing, do you actually put "you've got no chance" sausage?
Yeah,
you storm out of the room.
Yeah, I think what I'll do actually, if you follow me on Twitter, I'll start tweeting some of my press conferences.
Good. I've got a few myself. I recently stormed out of a press conference with the phrase, "What do you want me to say, Seth?" I was channeling Kevin Blackwell at the time.
Again, looking at this Charlton game, chaps, it's again looking at the whole thing all together. I mean, we are starting to pull ourselves out of the relegation slump. It's been a slow old drag. Birmingham are sort of getting involved in it with us now, and we're on the right path, shall we say? But I mean, there's a good half of the season left to go. We'll put a little bit of a distance between us and Peterborough. Of course, they are still taking the points here, there, and everywhere. But again, if you look at that table now, boys, we're on 29 points at the moment. Then if we look up before us, we've got Birmingham on 31. Then we've got 32, 33, and right up to sort of 15th in the table. Blackpool. That's only 34. So it's getting rather close round about where we are, and I don't think it's going to take too much for us to take that jump up to mid-table.
To mid-table, it's not going to take a massive twist of fate, as it were. But is anybody else like me? Has anybody got this sadistic side of me that wants Birmingham to go down? I've got no issue. I've got no issue with Birmingham. I've got no personal preference on them, and they just don't register on my give a chuff on it or whatsoever. But the fact that we went down and we went down again, and we've had an unceremonious last decade, and I'd love somebody else to sample that. Do you know what I mean? I'd love it to be called Doing a Birmingham, for example. I'd love. Do you know what I mean?
Instead of being called Doing a Wednesday.
Instead of being called Doing a Wednesday, because we always get mentioned, like when big-ish teams all of a sudden go into free fall. You know, it's the same clubs get mentioned every time. They always go
Forest and Leeds.
Exactly.
They are. Put the words in my mouth. And it'd be nice that somebody else gets drawn into that and somebody forgets about us. Do you know what I mean?
To be fair, Birmingham, it wasn't that long ago. I think it was only kind of early to mid-90s when they had Trevor Francis as manager. They were doing their time in League One. I remember them winning the Auto Windscreen Shield, which meant they must have been in League One at some point. But there's a lot of these teams that are now kind of feeling the effects of living the dream. I know we tried to live the dream and failed, and that's what caused us to have such an awful last 15 years. But there's a lot of those teams that kind of had their time in the sun. And, Birmingham played in Europe, and they won trophies and blah blah blah. But they have got a massive financial problem. There's a lot of these teams that are suffering the same. They're at the sharp end of the same problem, and we're kind of on our way back from that, which is actually it's almost a nice place to be. But I don't wish bad on any club, because it's the supporters that always end up hurting. But you know what? My brother-in-law is a Birmingham fan, and he has given me so much pelters over the last 5-10 years. That, to be honest, I cannot wait to see them go down, because I'm going to be having a street party outside his house.
So sod Birmingham Ipswich. Come on, Peterborough, let's have a romp up the league.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I've completely changed my mind. I think Peterborough are a great team, and I hope they do really well. We
love Barry Fry. He's the face of football and should be England manager.
I think he was probably half of the reason why Birmingham are in the position they were in the first place. I think he was there as manager. Didn't he have something like 83 first team players in his squad or something like that? So, but no, you're right. It can change very quickly. You can be top of your division at Christmas, and by January the 22nd, you can be just about hanging on to a playoff place. Mind the gap, lads. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just looking at this league, and there's been a bit of a managerial merry-go-round over the last month, and I can't help thinking that the bottom club, Bristol City, and obviously I've spoke about this with my other podcast chums, that Bristol City seem to have done the best out of it in terms of the manager that they've got. Like, they Nottingham Forest sacked
O'Driscoll,
and McLeish went in there. How that man still gets jobs? For me, he's in the same category as bloody Graham Souness. Who gives these people jobs? What bloody idiot gives them jobs? Like, for example, Dean Saunders. What the chuff did he do to deserve an ex-Premier League team with an £8 million striker? It seems mental that he actually got that position to do you know what I mean? Like, Michael Appleton got the bloody Blackburn job. Like, I didn't mind him getting the Blackpool one, like I said last week, but Blackburn, that seems nuts that they've given it to this tried and untested fella that, to be fair, deserved a better job because of the dignity he carried himself with at Portsmouth. But Blackburn, that's a lot of weight to carry. But what
I can't wait for is the fact that now there's probably 4 or 5 Premier League teams who are desperately falling over themselves to try and find a reason to sack their manager so they can get Nigel Adkins in. Because that is, as much as you've seen some crazy moves in the past, that has got to be the most ludicrous of all.
Well, if they had Louis van Gaal lined up or Carlo Ancelotti or something like that, then you go, fair point. But I've never heard of this geezer. I couldn't even pronounce his bloody name. And they've got rid of Nigel Adkins, who got them 2 successive promotions, went down from Scunthorpe, who were in the Championship, down to League One to Southampton to take him up, and they've got shut of him. Mental. The Southampton fans, to be fair to them, are up in arms about it. They're up in arms. They're all down there kicking off about it. Well,
shoes are off in the car park.
Well, they broke David Hurst, so chuff them.
So then, go on, Eddie. I'm going to press you for it, boy. We're never right with these bleeding things anyway. We must be the worst gamblers in the world. Give me a prediction for the Charles Maggio, boy.
It's like I said, it's an absolute lottery. You know what? I'm going to go for a 1-0 victory, just because I think we deserved more out of that Wolves game, and I think they'll be hungry for it. So 1-0, that'll do, mate.
Fudge?
2-0. 2-0 Owls.
Good man. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Wednesdays, and I think we're going to squeak it in the last minute. But I don't think I've ever got a prediction right yet, so don't follow what I say, chaps. It's not a good betting strategy.
If Beastie Ray now, hang on, no, he's here. Look. I think you'll find that over Christmas I called how many points. We heard all that Beast last week. See ya.
So, chaps, I think that's about it from me. Have we any other Wednesday news at all?
No, nothing much from me, other than to suggest that it was good to see. I'm a big sports fan, generally, and I don't know whether any of you boys are interested in the sport on 2 wheels, but the Tour de France route was announced this week, and it was very relevant to us because it starts in Leeds. It's the Yorkshire start to the Tour de France. So it was especially pleasurable when we saw the route unveiled. On the second day, it's going to start in York, which for those of you that might know is the capital of Yorkshire, but it's a very small, boring town other than that. But it will finish in the majestic Steel City itself. I think it's actually finishing out near kind of Don Valley, Sheffield International Arena, Meadow, all that sort of area. But they're going to come right over the top of Ooty Bridge and then drop down through Grenoside and go past the mighty theatre of shattered dreams itself, Hillsborough, before turning up Herries Road and heading out. So, if you would like to be part of what is probably going to be the biggest single stage that Hillsborough's been part of, because there's going to be millions and millions of people watching, I'm planning to organise a little something, whether it be in the Wednesday night car park or on the pitch itself at Hillsborough. I think we could make a right jamboree of it as we see these crazy, lithe, fit young men going past on their bikes. So,
whoa. What kind of gathering?
A gay rave now, Eddie.
What kind of gathering is this going to be?
I'm going to be doing a resident set. I'm going to be playing entirely Girls Aloud and Vanilla Ice numbers.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm sure Mr. Hurst will be there in his cycling shorts after his exploits on his bike last year.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Is he going to be in his Southampton shirt with that on the back? Bloody hell.
So then, chaps, all that's left is just to do the normal outro. Of course, we would like to thank everybody that has voted for us for the Shorty Awards. There's been quite a few, chaps.
How are we doing on that now? Are we anywhere near even, kind of the 100th place at this point?
To 20th now, chaps, almost even on the first page. Amazing. So again, big shout out to everybody that's voted for us. We've got Dale Purdy over there, Greg Smith, somebody called Fudge and Dave. Fudge.
Yeah.
Must have been Dave. You wouldn't vote for yourself, would you, Fudgy? No one would be that arrogant.
No, Dave did it.
We've got Paddy Jones over there at the New York Owls. Daniel, Daniel SWFC, Andy M, Cy Farrow, of course. Richard Oswick, Mac Wild. Again, there's a couple more Wednesday ones there. Nick Pike, Dave Chapman, Neil Park, Matthew Holland, SWFC Travel, Jack Walker, Andy Smith, Eddie Hoyland. Never heard.
Sorry, did you say Nick Pike there, by the way?
Nick
Park,
Nick
creator
Park.
Of Wallace and Gromit.
Absolutely. No, Nick Pike. That's right.
No, Nick Pike is somebody that works for me. I put it out to all the staff at work. And,
what a nice chap.
Don't tell him your name, Pike.
Yeah. Wonderfully middle class he is.
Actually, he says, I nominate DWWcast for a short award in podcaster because I find myself having dreams about this man and I. I'd worry about yourself there, Fudge. And of course, Mr. Lee Brown over there as well has given his vote. So 20 votes altogether. If you would like to give us your votes for the shorty awards, by all means do pop over there. I'm sure if you follow either myself or any of the chaps over there on Twitter or of course the podcast and on Facebook, we'll be we'll pop in a few links out there, I'm sure, boys. And of course, we shall give you a shout out on the show as well. So, speaking of Twitter, Fudge, old boy, if people want to hear your press conference, where do they need to be?
At Fudge and Dave on Twitter. Yeah, just get me there. I'm always on it.
Absolutely.
But don't get me in the middle of the night. My phone vibrates. It wakes me up. But thanks.
Eddie, old boy, where can people find your nonsense?
Yeah, well, because I've decided I'm going to become a hipster now, and so you can find me on Instagram rather than on Twitter. I am. I'm still on Twitter at Sausage Arm. But if you ever want a slightly out of focus picture of a pizza, then you can try and find me on Instagram as well, because that's pretty much all I do.
I do follow Eddie on Instagram, and yesterday there was a cracking picture of a fried breakfast. My favourite bit about this fried breakfast was the use of the oversized sportsdirect.com mug in the background.
I ordered some excellent weight training equipment, and they sent it as part of the deal. But it's a great mug. It's absolutely huge. So that's my morning tea mug. So I'll if you can imagine me sat in my pants, from sort of 7 till probably 10 o'clock, I'm probably drinking from that same mug. So there you go, fact fans, and another insight into the world of a podcast superstar. Yes, at Sausage Arms.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course, you can get hold of the podcast over there on Twitter at TWWcast, and of course, you can get hold of me over there on Twitter as well. That's at Lord H. That's L0RD_H. And of course, Mr. Beastie's not here today, but you can get over Beastie over there on Twitter at Beastie_ as well. So, chaps, I think that's around about it. We just, of course, wish the lads all the best of luck for the Charlton match. Can we have a roaring goodbye for the chaps?
Goodbye. Well, to posh it up a bit there.
And well done, Bradford City, tonight for being the first League Two club or fourth division club to get into a major cup final since 1962. That is real football. It's a triumph for the human spirit. Well done, everybody.
Stay tuned next week for more stats from Eddie.
And it's a very good bye from ladies and gents, and we shall see you very soon.
Chances!